This is a walkthrough demo of a facial animation rig that was designed to allow animators to edit motion capture data. This particular project was done in 3D Studio Max, but there's no reason that the tools featured in this rig couldn't be reproduced in Maya. The facial animation system for this project was designed around bone-driven animation. So we've got 25 bones here driving our face. And the problem with the normal motion capture scenario is that when we read our data in directly onto these bones, we've got a keyframe for every frame of data. So if we're at 60 frames a second, we would have 60 frames of data for every bone for every second of animation that we have. And that can be a little unwieldy to work with if all you're using is standard F-curve editing tools. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a layer in between our bones and our motion capture data that will allow us to layer some changes in between. So now I have these curved objects out here in the shape of a face next to our actual animated face. And when I select any one particular curve that represents a specific area of the face, like I've got the eyebrows selected right now, for example, I've got a series of custom attributes that have poses on them, and I've made them into sliders so that I can animate them on and off. And I've got a pose for the eyebrows, I've got a pose for angry, I've got a pose for surprised, I've got a pose for worried, and I've got a few poses that will just be able to edit motion capture data, like raising and lowering the eyebrows one side at a time, so that we can, if the mocap data has something that's understated or overstated, we can correct for it in that way. And then when we go through the face, each various area of the face, I've got the cheek selected now, has different corrective and pose-oriented sliders that will affect that specific area of the face. So what's unique about this rig is that it allows us to combine affecting each area by hand, like raising and lowering the eyebrows, with motion capture data. So whatever we do is going to be additive to the motion capture data, which is still lying underneath. So we have our mocap scene, and we can go to any part of that and affect areas differently. We can open the mouth. Now at this point, it's going to be additive on top of the data that's already there. We can close the mouth more, can change the shape of the eyebrows, make them look a little bit worried, and it's going to remain slightly worried look throughout the file, slightly open mouth throughout the file. And we can animate these settings as well to affect just a specific part of the mocap scene. One other nifty feature of this rig is the ability to blend the motion capture data on and off, so that if we are unhappy with what we get with our mocap for the eyebrows, let's say, for a specific part of the file, we can kind of turn the animation off, the mocap animation off for that part of the file. So I'll go to a frame here where we have some data on the eyebrows, and I can just slide the mocap down to 0% for the right eyebrow and now the left eyebrow. And now when I play, the eyebrows will remain still and the mocap data will not be read on. But we can still add our poses by hand. So there's left eyebrow worry, for example, and we can animate those on and off. And that way we can override the motion capture data purely with hand animation data if we want. And these are animatively blendable on and off. This setup was done using motion capture data from MOVA, which is pretty data intensive. There were, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 points of data for driving this face in this scene. But there's only 25 bones out there, so there's really no need to have that much data. And this setup can be replicated using any kind of motion capture data, any number of points and or any number of bones driving the animation.